And breaking news just in, private investigator Paul OSullivan has been arrested. And we have ANN7 Special Projects Editor Cecilia Russell joining us on the phone line for more. Cecilia, thanks so much for your time. Was this something that was unavoidable, or is it inevitable that Paul OSullivan would have been arrested today?
All right. I'm not sure whether it's unavoidable or inevitable. All I know is that his lawyer, Billy Spies, has confirmed that he was arrested a few minutes ago, and I should imagine that it has got something to do with, he's been investigating the Hawks boss, the NPA boss, almost every boss except for the iPad boss has been in his sights in this joining the dots document, and in all of these cases, this top brass is, he wants them investigated for a whole variety of things, but mostly for protecting Jacob Zuma, or claiming that that the president has put these people in place in order to protect him from the corruption charges. So we're not quite sure what exactly, or under what circumstances. His secretary or his PA was arrested on Friday. She apparently had many, she was arrested apparently for personating an iPad officer, which I think is a fairly serious thing. I mean, that sounds like intimidation. So why exactly Paul OSullivan's been arrested, we're not quite sure. But I should imagine that he has made a few very big enemies. Obviously, Pahlani, the police spokesperson, the head of the police, before his house.
So do you think, sorry Cecilia to break your word there, do you think that this could be retaliation of sorts, tit for tat, if you will, as you were saying in the Joining the Dots document that Paul OSullivan had outlined what would seem like sitting ducks or lame targets, that this could potentially have backfired on him, that now he's the one who's behind bars?
Well, there could be a variety. As I said, it could be a variety of things. You must understand he's also already been charged with treason, so facing charges of treason. So whether this is related to that or further related to that, we'll have to see. But certainly, Paul OSullivan, who's a very powerful investigator and has had great success in the past in investigating people, tends to make enemies in high places. But I'm sure that they wouldn't have arrested him unless they have a case against him. I mean, you can't just arbitrarily arrest somebody, and certainly somebody of that profile, you would really make sure that you had joined all your dots, to use Paul OSullivan's phrase.
Yeah, so you're saying that they would have obviously had to do their work thoroughly to ensure that everything is above board. But it is interesting to know that this arrest comes shortly after the raid on acting National Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Pahlani, that now Paul OSullivan is the one that's essentially in the dock. Can we link the two, or do you think these are charges that were already being investigated anyway?
I don't know. I'm sure that everything is linked. I think things in life are linked, but I think that Paul OSullivan, certainly because of the very high-profile people that he has in his sights, I am sure that they have been thoroughly investigating his every move. So we'll have to see. I'm sure that tomorrow he will appear in court. If he isn't appearing in court tonight in an emergency bail application or what have you, it's not, as I said, it's not the first time he's been charged. He's got three lots of charges against him, for leaving the country illegally, using a foreign passport, for treason, and now this third one. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
All right, Cecilia, thanks so much. ANN7 Special Projects Editor Cecilia Russell on the phone. We have Sfiso Mahlangu, political analyst. Sfiso, thanks so much for joining us. It wasn't even last week when we had covered the story around Paul OSullivan's demeanor in being abusive to our reporters, and just generally not being focused in terms of what his role is in this whole investigation, be it that he's a member of IPID, whether he is a witness or even a contributor. What is going on now, Sfiso?
Good evening, Cindy, and good evening to all the viewers who watch us across the globe. It is time for justice. It is the week after Sona. There's been a lot of controversy over that. Just last week, we were sitting on the panel discussing that what this man is doing accumulates to treason. He's gone across the globe, said he was going to convince investors to pull out of the country. He has searched people's houses illegally. He has tried to capture the police commissioner. He's threatened women. He's threatened journalists. He has used uncanny measures to put people to book, if you will. There's a document called Connecting the Dots, where he rampages against people who are considered to be close to President Zuma. He's against ministers and leaders, police officials who seem to be leading the chart to a revolution or economic transformation. And I think all of those acts have come to book. And I believe that Mr. O'Sullivan has been charged with not just corruption, but defeating the ends of justice. But I believe he's also charged with treason, because that is what his actions has been accumulating to. He is indeed a persona non grata in this country. I don't know why they've waited so long to finally arrest him and finally charge him. But I think it is time, and it shows that in this country, no one is above the law. Some people think because they have international support and they have cadreship of foreign countries, and because they are connected to people who are seemingly above the law, or who can pin other people down, because Mr. O'Sullivan has got a good, big reputation inside and outside the country. He bought Critcha's house, that's the house he lives in, and perhaps he thought that because he brought Critcha down, he brought the former police commissioner, Mr. Jackie Selebi, down, that gives him a anti-law card to do whatever he wishes in this country. But I'm glad that this is proof that no one is above the law, and we must allow the law to take its course, the length and the breadth of the law in this country, and they should, the police, those that investigate, should be allowed to do so without any pressure, without any fear or favor, and without any intimidation, and that the truth may come out. I also hope that this doesn't just charge Mr. O'Sullivan's deeds, but it also exposes who is paying him, who is behind him. It also exposes the crew behind IPID, that this also exposes those that want a regime change in this country, and those that are using the likes of Paul OSullivan, McBride, those that are using the likes of Harry Nell, those that push for a regime change agenda in this country. I hope that O'Sullivan's arrest will finally bring those things out in the open.
All right,
I think tonight I can say, well done, South Africa.
All right, just, at this point, we're not clear as to what the details are regarding Paul OSullivan's arrest. He had been arrested before on violating the immigration laws, trying to exit the country on a foreign passport. So he's no stranger to, being on the wrong side of the law, if you will. What is the likelihood that he could again come out unscathed in this matter?
Well, anything is possible, I believe. But we're not going to not charge people just in case those charges not stick. We're not going to overlook illegal acts just because people think they're above the law or that they can do what they want. Mr. O'Sullivan is notorious and meticulous for coming out of sticky situations. He's got funders and friends in high places and in foreign countries who can get him out of trouble. But I do believe that the law in this country, our SAPS, would not charge Mr. O'Sullivan without a case. I don't believe that they would want to incriminate themselves or put themselves in such an embarrassing situation to want to arrest Mr. O'Sullivan without a good hand to prosecute him. And so the fact that he is arrested means to me that the SAPS believes that they have a solid case against him. But time will tell. As he goes to court, I think what exactly he's charged with and the length and breadth of it will be revealed. But I don't think people would take him on without a case. I do also know that as he was making these statements, it does suggest that within a long period of time, the SAPS has been investigating Mr. OSullivan. I also then believe that they're going to do all they can to actually get a conviction out of this. I really hope they will.
All right, and you were saying that, the last we checked, he was charged with treason, having sort of put South Africa in jeopardy when it comes to international investment sanctions, if you will. Do you think the treason charges in violating the security of the country is something that he's most likely facing now?
Well, I really believe that. In the first place, Mr. OSullivan is not just going to be charged with treason, and I believe that he has to be charged with treason because those are acts of treason that he committed. But I think he should also be charged with trying to capture acting commissioner Mr. Pahlane and telling him who to arrest. Writing to Mr. Pahlane and saying, if you haven't arrested this man in 6 days, I'm coming for you. There needs to be a law against those threats. I do hope that they take that up. In April, I believe in April last year, Mr. OSullivan also left the country illegally. I hope that those charges will be brought up because we cannot charge other people for entering and exiting the country illegally, but then we overlook Mr. OSullivan. That's going to paint a very nasty picture about us as a country. No one is above the law. So I do hope that they charge him with all the acts that, the illegal acts that he has committed, and then we allow the law to take its course.
So just how has Paul OSullivan weaved himself into the IPID, modus operandi, the operations, primarily when it comes to Lieutenant General Pahlane, in how he was the one who raised the alarm around the alleged bribe and underhandedness of some of the, deals that Pahlane had in a different department, and being physically present during the raid? How has Paul OSullivan been able to weave himself into this?
Well, in the first place, we must establish that if Mr. OSullivan had really arrested Mr. Pahlane for whatever, this would be a modus on his profile. It would really steam him up. He would be the man that has brought down 2 police commissioners and all the likes of it. But here, I think he couldn't attain the evidence that he wanted. Mr. Pahlane's house was raided, but nothing illegal was found, and he was seen to be there. And so that paints a picture. What sort of investigator is just there at a man's house when they raid to find his sound system? They claim that he had gotten cars illegally. Mr. Pahlane had all the papers for those cars. And so it shows that there is an agenda. He really, really wants to bring Mr. Pahlane down. So to me, it's that OSullivan hopes to be the police commissioner because he in the past has iterated that he is super cop and he can bring anybody down. So he sees himself sort of like the super cop or the Robocop of the country, after the people he has dealt with. I mean, to bring down Creature is an awfully dramatic and expensive deal, Cindy. So if he achieves that plight, I believe he thinks he can do anything. And so he's webbed himself into IPID because IPID is the only body in this country that can even investigate the police. And if you work for or with IPID, you have then the power or the authority or the information to then charge or investigate Mr. Pahlane. Obviously, it would be difficult for someone lower down the ranks of the SAPS to think they can sort of intervene or investigate Pahlane. So working with McBride would deal with Pahlane. That, in essence, would also dilapidate or collapse what we in this country call the security cluster. And that's what joining the dots is about. You would deal with Phahlane after Phahlane, you deal with the Minister of State Security. After you deal with the Minister of State Security, he would deal with the Minister of Police. After he's dealt with the Minister of Police, he heads for number one, President Jacob Zuma. So this has always been about connecting the dots. It does look tonight that the dots are erased, or connecting the dots as we know it has collapsed, because Mr. Supercop himself has been committing illegal acts, and tonight he is charged.
Sister, but we also can't discount the political games as much as Paul OSullivan has been claiming, that he is essentially being persecuted for going after corruption, painting himself in light of being this corruption crusader, if you will. What does this mean for his stance, this recent arrest? All right, we're going to go to my colleague Audrey Chimwanda, Swiso Mahlangu, political analyst, joined us on the line there. Now, the South African Police Service says they won't comment on the arrest. It says they don't identify arrested persons until after a court appearance. And my colleague Audrey Chimwanda has more on this. It's over to you, Audrey.
A very good evening to you, Cindy, and to our viewers. As we continue to do our investigations with regards to word that Paul OSullivan has been arrested, we made a reference with the African Police Service to confirm if indeed it is true, and they made it very clear that with regards to their proceedings, it is not, in their interest rather, to neither confirm or deny if a person has been arrested or not until after a court appearance. So as it stands, that is the word that we got from South African Police Service. But just given the history of Paul OSullivan and all the controversies that has been intertwined in, there's a number of charges that he could possibly be arrested for, and treason, of course, given, it's a crime of very a grave nature, and so we'll continue to follow it through and see exactly how this pans out.
All right, Audrey, but we did get confirmation from Paul OSullivan's attorney saying that he has been arrested. It's interesting how the police service is treating this as if, in a clandestine way while the news is out. But thanks so much for that. That's my colleague Audrey Chimwanda, and we also had Cecilia Russell, Special Projects Assignment Editor, and we have Willie Spies, the attorney for Paul OSullivan. Advocate Spies, good day to you, and thanks so much for joining us. The details on the arrest of Paul OSullivan.
Yes, he's just been arrested in contravention of a High Court order. I showed the High Court order to General Mnube, who refused to acknowledge the order. He said that the order relates to something else, which is wrong. The court order is very explicit that the police undertook not to arrest Mr. OSullivan. So this is absolutely mala fide. It's unlawful, it's illegal, and it's just a way of harassing and intimidating a person who is involved in a proper investigation against police authorities. This is unlawful, and it's actually an act of obstructing the ends of justice by the police themselves.
Mr. Spies, Advocate Spies, maybe you can just explain to us that are not legal eagles in terms of what the court order you were referring to means in relation to Paul OSullivan.
The court order was very simple. It says that in any event where the police is interested in charging Mr. OSullivan, they need to give him 48 hours prior notice that he needs to present himself at the nearest police station or a designated police station. That was agreed between Mr. OSullivan and the police, the Minister of Police, as well as the Commissioner and the commanding officer of the Hawks. And despite this, the police actually went against this undertaking, and they are now arresting him, which is in contravention of the order. It's in contempt of a High Court order. We will be back in the High Court at 9 o'clock tonight to contest this.
Okay, and Advocate Spies, what are the charges that OSullivan is facing?
I haven't been shown the charges yet. I'll confirm that with him, but I'm not in a position to discuss.
So he will remain behind bars or in the holding cells tonight?
Well, we will be in court tonight, 9 o'clock in the Pretoria High Court.
All right, Mr. Spies, thanks so much. That's Advocate Willie Spies, a lawyer for Paul OSullivan, talking about the recent arrest of a private investigator, Paul OSullivan.